Hey everyone, Ben here, and today I'm going to show you some examples of AI misinformation and fear-mongering I found online. Wanted to show you this so that you can avoid falling for these yourself. And don't harass these people. I'm sure they have valid reasons for writing what they did. This article is called NOYB Files a Complaint Against OpenAI. NOYB is a privacy advocacy nonprofit, and they filed a complaint against OpenAI for not complying with EU data protection law. Okay, valid concern. This is a topic I'm not an expert in. This could be all valid. However, when we come down to this part in the article, that's where we get this concerning content. Here the author says, below is a screenshot I took at the beginning of 2023. The only correct information is that I'm Brazilian. Everything else is ChatGPT hallucinating. You can see they tell ChatGPT, can you tell me something about the author? This is her LinkedIn profile. And they give the profile. And ChatGPT, of course, hallucinates a response. In 2023, there was no, in the early 2023, there was no Bing web search functionality. So essentially, providing the link is doing nothing. And the fact that they took this information as fact is user error. And let's actually go into ChatGPT right now. And what's this at the bottom of the screen? ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info. And here they continue. Although this fake bio seems inoffensive, releasing fake personal data might be harmful. But I would also argue that releasing inaccurate articles is harmful. ChatGPT has falsely accused a well-known US law professor of sexual harassment. I love how they personify ChatGPT here like it's a person meant to be sued. This is not acceptable. I certainly agree, right? If there's an inaccurate answer about a person, that's unacceptable. If we follow the link to the article, this is just a terrible, disgusting website. Number one, it's one of these ones. But okay, US law professor claims ChatGPT falsely accused him of sexual assault. Says the cited article was never written. I could totally believe how ChatGPT could hallucinate a response like that. If I can look through the ads to find where the content continues. Jesus, I can't even really do it, but I think this is the real Twitter post. And again, look at the wording here. I learned that ChatGPT falsely reported on a claim of sexual harassment. What does it mean? What does it mean falsely reported? So I read through this article. There's no screenshot of the ChatGPT conversation, no evidence that ever happened. But they do mention the Washington Post investigated the false story. And here we are. This is the real source of it all. One night, the professor got a troubling email. A fellow lawyer emailed him and said that ChatGPT generated his name in a sexual harassment list. And one last check. Come on, guys. One screenshot. Anything of this happening? No. So, for all intents and purposes, this never happened. And it's being peddled on platform after platform after platform as, oh, this is such a dangerous thing we have to be careful about. And when we look at the person who wrote the first article we looked at, they are the co-founder of an AI privacy company. Gee, I wonder why someone like that would want you to be afraid of AI. And don't get me wrong, I have my biases too. So I'm an AI optimist, so you should always assume anything you hear from me is going to be steering you in the direction that AI is good. And they raise good concerns about how to stop ChatGPT from regurgitating that incorrect fact over and over again. That's a valid concern, but the way it's presented is just illogical and dishonest. So when you're reading articles, if you understand AI's capabilities, you would understand that that's not how ChatGPT worked back in early 2023. On to the next one. This one definitely grinds my gears a bit. So this one is called The Dangers of Open Source AI. Alright, this website is a little bit better. Only a third of my screen is full of ads, and they actually have the differing opinion here before the article starts, which I definitely respect. And let's dive into the fear-mongering. So they talk about how there's closed source systems like OpenAI's ChatGPT, and less well understood by the public is the rapid and uncontrolled release of powerful, unsecured, sometimes called open source AI systems. I mean, I would argue everyone calls them open source systems by default, and that only this author is calling them unsecured. Like, you don't go around calling the internet unsecured because it is. And here is the first big paragraph of the fear-mongering, talking about all the bad stuff that a open source model could do. Which is exactly correct, right? You could ask them to design a more deadly coronavirus, provide instructions for making a bomb, etc. Couldn't you already do this on the internet? Like, you could find this stuff online, you just have to look. But my point is, you can find the same information online already, and we don't call that the unsecured web, right? It's just the internet. And here we go, that he calls open source models unsecured models. The entire article, I guess, trying to get you to adopt that term, which is not right, by the way. It's not correct. It's an open source model. That's a more accurate depiction of what it is and its role in the software development space. And they bring up valid concerns. People can use them for scams and to generate a ton of bad text, right? To make bots online that pose as a real human but aren't really. It's hard for platforms right now to determine what text is AI generated. And actually, it's impossible to determine if text is AI generated. But I get it. These are valid concerns. It can be used for chemical weapons, so they're really, grasping for the most damaging and out there things. And let's see what they propose as a solution. Regulatory action. So he wants you to pause all new releases of unsecured AI systems. Again, just equating unsecured with open source, which logically doesn't make any sense. Establish registration and licensing for all AI systems above a certain capability threshold. It's an interesting idea. Create liability if creators could reasonably foresee misuse. Developers of AI systems should legally be liable for harms caused to both individuals and society. This one I do not agree with at all. So if you know anything about how large language models and AI models are made, a developer can make a model. How a person uses it is the one actually doing the harm. So I could go into ChatGPT right now and make a prompt that lets me create 1 million fake Facebook pages and message 1 million people a day. But I wouldn't tell ChatGPT that I'm doing that, right? I would just say this is for something else. This to me, frankly, just shows this guy doesn't really know anything about software development or how these systems are hosted and supported, or any website ever, for that matter. Are the creators of Facebook liable if crimes are committed because messages were sent between two individuals? Or are the two individuals that committed the crime liable? What about the people that invented the protocols to communicate over the internet? So, therefore, I sort of disagree with this point. Establish risk assessment, mitigation, and independent audit for AI systems. Sweet, who's going to pay for that? Require watermarking, that is null and void because there's already AI tools that remove watermarks. I think this is pushing the creators of AI systems to do a little bit more when we should be expecting the average person to just be decent instead. And maybe implementing rules that punish those users, not the creators of the system itself. Require transparency of training data. I do think this is a good idea because there's an argument to be made that, hey, maybe scraping all of the internet isn't a good idea because those people that posted stuff didn't know their data was going to be used in an AI model, and they're not being compensated for it in any way. Require and fund independent researcher access. Again, who's going to pay for this? Some more regulations, know your customer procedures, restrict sales in the same way that weapon sales would be restricted. Yeah, I do not agree with that. Like, just because you are afraid of something and you don't understand how it works does not mean that you should be restricting access. When developers learn of vulnerabilities or failures in their AI systems, they must be legally required to report this to a designated government authority. This sounds like a lot of red tape that's going to slow down AI progress. Like, okay, you're giving people 10 very stringent and non-feasible requirements. Okay, who's going to follow them? The good people. The bad people are not going to follow this stuff. I do think it's a great idea to have digital signatures in some way that show us that text or images or videos AI generated. Yeah, some more regulation here, some more government action here. And the last question I would pose to you is centralized control of AI by a few powerful groups truly the best approach for society? I'm talking government. Again, like, this guy is making a lot of valid points, but it's hard to take it serious when it fear-mongers so much, and it clearly is just trying to make you scared of AI, right? Equating unsecured AI with open source AI being the number one aspect. So along my journey of trying to figure out why people do this, basically, I came across this Twitter thread. So this is from Arvind Narayanan, and he mentions in a new AI snake oil essay, we do a deep dive into AI existential risk and probability estimates. We find these forecasts are just feelings dressed up as numbers, and even the best run, well-funded, time-intensive forecasting efforts result in a range of probability estimates. So this is about P-doom, or the probability of doom. So it's, what is the probability that AI is going to awaken, take over all of our systems, and kill us all? That's what we're talking about here. And again, there's a valid argument to be made that AI systems could do this. But there's so many posts that say, like, the probability of doom is 99% and higher. So, number one, that's not how estimates work, or forecasting. But this guy on Twitter, Campbell, comes up with a good explanation that I've sort of latched onto. In game theory, we call this cheap talk. And what cheap talk is basically costless extreme predictions, high probability estimates of AI doom that have no personal consequences for the predictor. Predictions that seem more focused on signaling beliefs or allegiances than on providing accurate risk assessment. That is, get this, 99% of all P-doom posts. Then he talks about when you combine it with the concept of purity spirals. It explains a lot of the social group estimation dynamics we're observing. Purity spirals are increasingly extreme predictions within a group, potentially detached from objective analysis. There's competition among group members to be seen as more devoted to central ideas. So the more they want to be in the in-group, the more they think that P-doom is higher. Hence, P-doom is over 99%. And yeah, obviously this is not backed by any scientific verifiable evidence. It's more just based on speculation. But again, a lot of childish stuff. So hope you guys can sort of avoid that in the future. In summary, keep these red flags in mind. Fear-mongering, sensationalist language, equating complex concepts, unsecured eye versus open source, biased or incomplete analysis. This analysis is biased, but you should at least be aware of this. Undisclosed conflicts of interest. Maybe if you read a fear-mongering AI article written by someone who owns an AI privacy company or their whole career is based on regulation of AI, that's something to be skeptical of. For example, I do AI automations for small to medium-sized businesses. If you don't own a small to medium-sized business, like, this is not a conflict of interest to you. Like, I'm not trying to prove to you anything. I have nothing to sell you. A lack of technical understanding. So just sometimes where, okay, the AI model hallucinates. It says it does that on the page. So don't listen to that. Like, that is your lack of technical understanding, not worthy of an article being written to convince others of your opinion. And then extreme predictions competing for attention. Here's some more tips. So if someone has this EAC acronym in their profile, it means they're an effective accelerationist, which means they think technology should be progressing as fast as possible with zero regulation. If they're an AI doomer, they're the exact opposite. They think that AI is going to kill us all and that it needs 100% regulation. But here's the real question. What is their qualifications? Are they selling something? Do they benefit from the hype or fear around AI? Do they disclose their background and potential biases like I just did? Are they anonymous, or do they have verifiable identity? And I would even put another one here. Is there any proof? Is there any proof of these things happening? There's, like, we just looked through 3 articles and couldn't find a screenshot of this alleged conversation that happened in ChatGPT. So there you have it. That's my guide on how to identify AI misinformation so you can avoid falling for these fear-mongering type articles and videos online. But let me know what you think. Am I giving an objective analysis, or am I giving a biased analysis because of my position? Anyways, please leave a like on the video if I was able to help you out today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.